parents of children attending the St. Mary of the Angels and St. Francis Special School in Beaufort have appealed to Kerry County Council members to support their campaign for respite services to be provided for families of children who are due to leave the school in June. With me in our studio here in Killarney, I've a number of people to talk about this. I've got Gina Sullivan Casey, who's chair of the Parents Committee. I've the principal of St. Francis Special School in Beaufort, Keith Bradley, and also Jacqueline Riordan, who is a parent as well. Good morning to all of you, and thanks for coming into us on the programme. Jean, if I can start with you. Look, you had a meeting yesterday of concerned parents. First of all, tell me what the issue is here with respite. There is arrangements as things stand. Children attending the school currently have a couple of nights of respite per month, but there's a problem when they get older. Is that right?
There is, Jerry. I suppose the families that are currently attending our school, the majority of them would avail of respite services at the Arches, and they could maybe receive 2, maybe 3 nights in the month, depending on availability, I suppose, really. But unfortunately, once our children transition to the adult services, once they hit 19, if they have the extra year in our school, once they move on, adult service respite is just non-existent. There is up to a year wait list for families to have 1 weekend in the month, and this is just not fair. It's not fair in the families. They're burnt out. They're exhausted as it is, and the prospect of leaving the school is quite daunting for our families.
So they leave in their late teens, and then for the last 3 years there's been no respite.
Yeah, respite services are just, the wait and the duration families have to wait is absolute codology, really. Parents are 24-hour carers. They're at home. They are just burnt out, exhausted. And, I suppose for the longest time I wasn't aware of this until some of our wonderful families in the school came to us and said, look, this was the situation in the adult services. And, it's very, there's such a worry and an anxiety for our families leaving. They're leaving the wonderful setting of St. Francis Special School. The children have formed unbelievable relationships with the staff. They have unconditional love for their teachers, their SNEs. They have everything on site here. They have become used to our playground, our sensory garden, sensory rooms. And then when they move on, Jerry, all these things, the things that they have become accustomed to over the years, are just not available in the adult service. And respite is one of those issues, and major issues, of course. But also the lack of services within the adult service, playgrounds, sensory rooms. This is a big thing for our children. They have settled in so well. They've enjoyed the duration of their time at St. Francis Special School, and to move on to nothing is just, it's criminal, really.
That's what you're trying to fix. And Keith, that's the key issue here, isn't it? You've seen this happen. You've seen the way children have become so accustomed, so used, and enjoyed the facilities there.
Of course, yeah. I suppose it's important just to outline, we take children from 4 to 18 years of age, and we're out in an absolutely fabulous campus, right, where we have staff that are used to the kids, and then they are part then, when they're attending the school, of the Department of Education, right? When they move on then after 18 years of age, you're moving into the Department of Disability. There can be maybe a perception that, well, when you finish the school, you go across the grounds to the campus to St. Mary of the Angels, and that doesn't happen. Yeah. But that perception would actually be a wonderful prospect. And our suggestion and our thinking is that we know that St. Mary of the Angels is being looked at and reviewed, and there is a committee, and there was a fund made available to establish this committee to look at actions for the future of St. Mary of the Angels. And what we're saying is that, you imagine, we have at the moment 71 families in the school. There's been 7 million of investment in the school in the last 3 years. The school is going nowhere. The families love St. Mary of the Angels. The kids love St. Francis Special School, right? The transport is there. Everything is set up. So what we're proposing now is that rather than seeing the kids go all over different places in the county, new bus route, new staff, that they're on the grounds. I met with a group of past parents 2 weeks ago, and they calling themselves now, the Friends of Respite, right? And they're 5 recently past parents who've seen their kids, their adult children, regress because they're waiting for the services. They're waiting. When they do get a new service, they've new transport, new staff.
Has huge effect on them with their special needs to get used to anything new.
Absolutely. But there's a potential here, Jerry, to the grounds of St. Mary the Angels are being looked at. What we're saying is we have everything. There's this, there's a policy there that says about community and about trying to get people out of community. And the people of St. Mary the Angels will be familiar with that. Community, I think that depends on what your definition of community. I will ask anybody to find a better community than what's out in St. Mary the Angels with the staff that are working with the adults, to look at the kids and our community. And our kids know the grounds. Our staff would be happy to help when our adult children move on into the grounds. We can do wonderful things.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop you there for a second. Jacqueline, I just wanted to talk to you. Can you, I suppose, outline, the concern you would have as a parent of a child facing into this, I suppose, that this change, if it is to be that way, that it goes, that you move on to the adult services, and the services they aren't there anything like what you have been used to in relation to St. Francis Special School?
Well, hi, Jerry. Anyway, thank you for giving us a voice, basically. And I suppose for us as parents, myself and my husband, I suppose we're embarking on the route now of our son Conrad leaving St. Francis School in July, the second week in July. He's supposed to commence an adult service in September. We don't know if that will be the case yet. Our options are slightly limited at the moment with adult services, Kerry Parents and Friends Association. I've had 3 meetings. I have met lovely people. I'd like to make a shout out to the 2 Katrinas. They know Katrina Moriarty, Katrina Connor. I briefly met Noel, Richard, Adele and James. They're all, I suppose, healthcare workers that are working in this industry. And I suppose they spoke to me that on their service, Kerry Parents and Friends, and I suppose as a concern for me, it is a concern that they said that they need an occupational therapist on their teams who specialise in sensory needs. They also told me they had a psychologist. She has retired, and there is no possibility at the moment of her being rehired. The capacity, they said, is filling up for our adult young children, and they said they need to look at a new centre, hoping to start, I suppose, in the future. To be honest, we have made no decision yet on where our son Conrad will go. It's a decision myself and my husband will have to make soon. I suppose our worry really, Jerry, is we don't know when he'll get his service, when it will start. There's a huge issue on staffing. There's a huge issue on, I suppose, the HSE sanctioning funding so that Kerry Parents and Friends can advertise and then hire staff. And I suppose, as Keith and Jean there spoke briefly there, transitioning into adult services for our young adults is daunting. You're meeting new people, it's a new environment, there's a lot of stresses. You definitely will have a few teething problems. And I suppose that's where we kind of come to our overnight respite. Like, we must be real here. Like, what parents are really offered at the moment is one weekend in the year. Like, one weekend in the year, it's nothing. Like, you have parents there that have left St. Francis Special School for the last 3 years or more, and they're not even on a waiting list. They haven't even been assessed. So, like, to get on a waiting list, you have to go through a process. You have to fill out an application form that has to go into the disability sector. The disability sector looks at it. They'll approve it. Then you have to wait. And like this waiting, like it's absolutely crazy. Parents, they're in a crisis. No, they need it now. And we're in a position now. We have our TDs, Kerry, we have Norma, Minister Foley, we have Michael Cahill there that raised this issue in the Dáil. We met with all these councillors yesterday, and everyone's saying they're going to get behind us. But really, we need to get this over the line. We need to try and get this as soon.
Okay. All right. Jean, if I can go back to you. So what's the idea here? The idea is to utilise the services that are already there, or the buildings, some of the buildings that are already there in St. Mary's of the Angels in Beaufort. And that then brings us back to this old row and the national policy of locating people or providing services for people in communities rather than in congregated settings. Now, the argument has that it was a long campaign. We talked about it here, where the parents said this isn't a congregated setting in the traditional term of congregated settings that the national policy relates to. This is a special campus, unique almost in Ireland, and that's the case. And the people who are there are allowed to be there until they decide they want to leave themselves, until they pass away. That's the process. So St Mary's of the Angels is going to be there for quite a long time. Your argument is it allow respite there, or develop a service for respite there on the site?
Absolutely, Jerry. I suppose with the agreement that's there, that the residents that are living there, when they can live their lives out there, why not utilise the rest of the campus and let us provide a respite service there. Let a respite service be provided there. It's common sense. The services are there, the beds are there, I suppose, they will say that national policy, but really and truly what we're looking for isn't national policy. We understand, I suppose, to a point that they are not in a position to house people indefinitely going forward, but what we are looking for...
You're talking about is respite.
Yes, overnight respite. Give the families a break, because I suppose, Jerry, the long and short of this really is, and in my opinion, I envision that if parents and children aren't properly catered for in the lines of respite, that down the line parents are going to realise that we can't cope. We are in a position now that we're burnt out, we're exhausted, we're on our knees, and parents are going to have to make that heartbreaking decision on how to move forward. We're getting no younger, obviously, and our children are getting older, and
it's the worry for every parent with a special needs child. What will happen after I'm gone, or when I advance in years?
Yes, but I mean, even at that, if a parent was to become unwell or a circumstance changes, there is no respite there to help these families. And parents are going to have to make that decision. They're going to look at, maybe I can't cope anymore, I can't keep going, we have to look into the fact that maybe that we need to look at residential care for our child. And this is going to open up an even bigger problem for our current government.
Because they'll need more spaces, they'll need more staff, they'll need more resources to go towards that if the respite isn't there.
And it's going to cost the state far more money than what we are asking. The grounds are there. Obviously, things need to be developed.
Yes.
But I mean, look, this is just, it's a no-brainer, really. And I mean, at the end of the day, they need to open the doors. The land was gifted to the people of Kerry by the Dial family. It was given to the nuns, who did absolutely Trojan work, and they handed over the service to the St. John of God's in the hope that they would continue on the fantastic work that was being done there. The special children of Kerry deserve better. The families deserve better. They need something. They need false promises and things, us being told that, look, we've got this, you're going to be okay, and change is coming. The change has to happen now. These families can't continue on the way they're going. We have a fantastic development going on at St. Francis Special School. The children are just so happy and so cared for there by the staff. Keith has put in Trojan work there for the development at the school and all the different things. And to see the school being developed in the way it is, the St. Mary of the Angels and the campus across the lawn should be
equally developed. Okay, Keith, look, there's a lot to take. How would this work? What would the cost be involved? Do the plans need to start now? But first of all, the permission needs to be given, or I suppose this needs to be looked at by government. And would you be hopeful, given the recent programme for government and the promise of this phrase, a step change in disability services being provided in this country, would allow for something like this to be done?
Yeah, I mean, as Jean said, I suppose our feeling is that it is a no-brainer, in the sense that, like, everything is there, right? We know, if you look specifically at St. Mary of the Angels, there is an agreement there, and Anne Rabbit visited last year, a year and a half ago, and said there was money available to look at the future of the grounds, right? So what we're saying is, make that a viable option, looking at the future of the grounds. We just can't see why there would be any reason that it wouldn't happen. We've spoken with the HSE, and we know that members of the HSE locally have said, look, anything is possible. there are certain boundaries that we need to work through. We've met with Minister Michael Moynihan, Minister of State for Education. We've met with Minister Michael Healy-Rae. We've met with Danny Healy-Rae, Michael Cahill, all in the office last week. And often what we're told and what they mentioned is often the problem is land. That's not a problem here. There's no problem here. So everything is there. The infrastructure is there. The transport network is there. And what I'm saying is, while there was money put aside for looking at the grounds, that's where you can actually do your research and you can see and do feasibility studies into making this work. We're there ready to go. We know that the families are very, very keen for this. Hopefully, like a bit of common sense. We've also, as I said, we've spoken with the politicians. Yesterday, the councillors are proposing to put in a joint motion. It's like, it's an open door that we're pushing there with the councillors, and we hope then that that with the councillors and with the TDs that we have, that at whatever level of HSE where maybe this might be stalled, that we just get over that. So it's really about us now pushing and knocking doors down that aren't open yet. Okay, all right. Well, listen, look, we're out of time, but thanks so much for talking to us about it, and we'll see where the IE goes. We'll put questions to the HSE based on what you're saying. You'll obviously get responses from the politicians who were there yesterday, and I know Michael Cal raised this in the Dáil as well, so we'll follow up on that to see what happens. But Jean and Keith, just one final point. Just one very final point. Tánaiste that Simon Harris mentioned in the Dáil last week about the great work that the school does and the great work St Mary the Angels. While I'm on the radio, I want a massive shout out to all our families, all our staff, and especially the kids. And I know some of the kids are listening this morning. John Daniel might be specifically listening, and if he is, and to all of them, I can't name the 71, but we love them to bits, and we're going to keep working for as hard as we can until we make sure that families and the children are supported. What Simon Harris said was, he thanked Michael Cal for raising the issue. He said, I acknowledge the excellent work in County Kerry. It's being led by St Francis Special School in Beaufort. I take the points being made about the need to look at respite provision in Kerry and the proposals he and his community have for the need for respite care. I will ask the Minister for Disability to engage with him on this matter, and happy to talk to him further on it too. So we'll wait the outcome. We'll ask what the outcome of that is as well. Jean and Keith and Jacqueline, thanks so much for talking to us on the programme this morning. If you have a view on that idea